Shakespeare is incredible, but back in the day, his work was considered trash for the masses. There's a lot of science fiction like that. Books that manage to sell like crazy, win over readers, even impress critics, and yet never got a single nod from the Hugo, the Nebula, or any of the other big boy literary and sci fi awards. Stick around, because today we're going to uncover some of those sci fi gems, specifically of the 1960s, that were totally snubbed by the awards committees. These are books that you may have never thought to pick up, but they may just become your next great read. Hi there, I'm Jim with Fantasy for the Ages, the channel where father and son talk about fantasy, science fiction, horror, and other nerdy things that we enjoy. If you're new here, please go ahead and like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss when we have new content coming out. It happens rather often. And if you'd like to support what you see here, join our Patreon community. A link to our Patreon page is down in the show notes. We would appreciate your support. You and the other people in our community that help keep these episodes possible. One of my favorite things is digging into the data, the sales numbers, the ratings across Goodreads, Storygraph, Amazon, and the critical reviews that are tucked away in magazines and retrospectives. By putting all that information together, I'm able to reveal books that readers loved, critics respected sometimes, and publishers kept printing, but which the major awards never acknowledged. That's what I was able to pull off in preparing for this new series. A specific request from one of our viewers, where we're looking at the best sci-fi novels of each year that were ignored by the awards. For this first episode, I've gone ahead and looked through every year of the 1960s, and I've chosen two books. One runner-up for the year, and one that I consider the best of the options. Books that were wildly successful with fans, often critically praised, yet received no recognition from the Hugo, the Nebula, or any of the other big awards for science fiction, like the British Science Fiction Awards, the Arthur C. Clarke, the Campbell Memorial, or the Philip K. Dick Award. Now, mind you, most of those award categories weren't around in the 60s yet, but the Hugo and the Nebula were in play, and none of these that I'm featuring today even got a sniff from those award committees. It's a crime. These are the great snubs from the 1960s and science fiction. Awards missed them, but you don't have to. So let's dive in. For each year of the 1960s, again, I'll reveal two novels, beginning with the runner-up, and then the one I believe was the very best science fiction novel of that year that never got any award recognition. We start in 1960, where the runner-up is Dr. Futurity by Philip K. Dick. Science fiction with time travel and strong social themes. A present-day surgeon is flung centuries forward into the future where medicine is taboo and population balance is enforced through ritual death. Recruited into a paradox-laced plot to alter history, he's caught between the duty to heal and a culture that punishes saving lives. Each jump through time peels back a larger conspiracy about who controls human destiny and why. The best of 1960 goes to The Status Civilization by Robert Sheckley. This is dystopian and satirical sci-fi. Will Barrent wakes on the prison planet Omega with no memory, hurled into a brutal, status-obsessed society where the only way to survive is to commit crimes. As he claws upward, Barrent discovers a clandestine resistance and a sinister theology that mirrors a strangely placid Earth. His quest to clear his name exposes a world built on subconscious conditioning and forces him to battle the programming within himself. Continuing to 1961, runner-up of the year is The Puzzle Planet by Robert A.W. Lowndes. Science fiction and a detective mystery. Dr. Roy Auckland joins an archaeological expedition to the quirky planet Carolus, inhabited by roly-poly Vake, who value mirth above all. Doesn't sound so bad. When his colleague is poisoned, Roy must use his detective skills and cross cultural savvy to solve the crime. What begins as a lighthearted mystery gradually reveals deeper insights into cultural relativity and the nature of logic itself. The best book of 1961 is Memoirs Found in a Bathtub by Stanislaw Lem, dystopian science fiction. In an underground fortress where all records of the outside world are destroyed, a nameless agent is sent on a mission of uncertain purpose. Every encounter he has with fellow officers is laced with contradiction, suspicion, and absurdity. His memoirs reveal a hallucinatory descent into mistrust and futility as he realizes the system itself is the enemy. Let's check out 1962, where our runner up sci fi novel is Captive Universe by Harry Harrison. This is generation ship dystopian science fiction. Teenager Kymel learns that his rigid, Aztec like society, hidden in a lush valley, is not what it seems. Breaking taboos, he discovers the valley is part of a vast generation starship where traditions are enforced to maintain control. His search for truth pits him against leaders who fear what knowledge might do to their fragile world. And the best book of 1962 is The Drowned World by J.G. Ballard. This is climate change and psychological science fiction. Solar storms melt the polar ice, flooding Earth into a tropical swamp where only remnants of humanity cling to high ground. Biologist Cairns joins a scientific expedition, but as the heat and silence mount, he feels drawn into the primeval dreamscape. The novel is less about survival than about surrendering to a transformed, surreal Earth. Continuing to 1963, the runner-up of the year is The Game Players of Titan by Philip K. Dick. This is just science fiction. In a depopulated future Earth, the few fertile survivors play Bluff, a high-stakes property game that quietly decides who marries whom and who controls vast tracts of a hollowed-out world. When alien vugs from Titan start meddling in the rules, gambler Pete Garden stumbles into a conspiracy involving telepaths, rigged outcomes, and the fragile detente that keeps humanity alive. Dick turns the matches shifting alliances into a paranoid, twisty mystery about luck, control, and what remains of free will when the game is fixed. The best science fiction novel of 1963 to get no award recognition is Planet of the Apes by Pierre Boulle, an incredible science fiction that spawned a whole franchise. A French journalist travels to a distant world that looks like a paradise until he discovers a civilization where apes are scholars and humans mute captives. As he fights to prove his intelligence to skeptical chimpanzee scientists, archaeological clues reveal how such a reversal could have happened. The final revelation reframes everything he thinks he knows about home. Continuing to 1964, our runner-up for the year is The Planet Killers by Robert Silverberg. This is space opera-style sci-fi. The Galactic Federation sends assassin Lloyd Cotton to a distant colony world with orders to eliminate the governor, a man suspected of conspiring with aliens. Ooh. Posing as a traitor, he discovers a culture teetering between loyalty and rebellion and begins questioning his mission. The deeper he goes, the more he realizes the Federation itself may be the true threat. Best of 1964 goes to Greybeard by Brian W. Aldiss, post-apocalyptic science fiction. After a nuclear accident sterilizes humankind, the world slowly withers into an elder society where no new children are born. Greybeard and his wife set off down the Thames in search of remnants of hope and meaning in a world growing quieter each year. The novel blends elegy and adventure, asking what humanity becomes when it faces extinction not with a bang, but a long twilight. Let's go on to 1965, where our runner-up science fiction novel is The Long Result by John Brunner. This is social first contact science fiction. On a near utopian Earth, that's being outstripped by its own star colony. A civil servant gets pulled into sabotage, xenophobia, and interworld politics when alien envoys arrive. As attacks escalate, he uncovers a conspiracy tying anti alien extremists to separatists on the human colony of Starhome. The resolution pivots on whether humanity can meet the galaxy with maturity or cling to old prejudices at all cost. Best sci-fi of 1965 with no award recognition is fun. Bill, the Galactic Hero by Harry Harrison. This is military satirical sci-fi. A farm kid is press ganged into the Empire's space troopers and discovers that military glory mostly means bureaucracy, graft, and absurdity. Misadventures, from botched surgeries to propaganda assignments, pinball him across the war machine. Harrison turns every set piece into a send-up of science fiction's straight-faced war stories while still delivering a fast, funny adventure. For 1966, our runner-up is The Crystal World by J.G. Ballard. New wave science fiction. A physician visits a leper colony in Africa only to find the jungle crystallizing, time and life itself turn to jeweled stasis. As the world becomes frozen beauty, he must decide between escaping or embracing the transformation. Ballard presents a haunting allegory of entropy and desire. Best sci-fi novel of 66 is Make Room by Harry Harrison. This is dystopian sci-fi and later inspired the 1973 film Soylent Green. In an overpopulated New York of 1999, Detective Andy Rush investigates a murder tied to black market food and water. The novel depicts riots, corruption, and looming ecological collapse. Harrison's gritty realism delivers one of the strongest warnings in pre-cyberpunk sci-fi. Going on to 1967, our runner-up is The Technicolor Time Machine by Harry Harrison. This is time travel satirical sci-fi. A failing Hollywood studio decides to shoot on location by using a real-time machine to film Vikings in Vinland. The production hurdles, unions, budgets, berserkers create a cascading parade of disasters. Harrison turns the chaos into a brisk, funny riff on movie making, causality, and how stories become history. The best novel of 1967 in the sci-fi category with no award nominations or anything is City of Illusions by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is part of the Hainish universe. She's written a number of stories in this area. An amnesiac with amber eyes is found in a forest on far future Earth, a world quietly dominated by the mind-lying Shing. Seeking his identity, he journeys across a hostile land toward the fabled city of Estok. What he discovers forces a choice between comfortable illusion and a dangerous truth that could free humanity. For 1968, our runner-up is The Last Starship from Earth by John Boyd. This is dystopian, alternate history sci-fi. In a future theocracy where sex is strictly policed and heresy is punishable by death, a young mathematician discovers forbidden knowledge. His love affair with a brilliant woman sparks investigation by the ruling orthodoxy. Exile to a penal colony reveals that humanity's history has been deliberately rewritten. Best novel of 1968 goes to The Still Small Voice of Trumpets by Lloyd Biggle Jr. This is political, satirical science fiction. Galactic cultural surveyors evaluate worlds for entry into the Union. On Koros, the absence of democratic institutions is masked by elaborate rituals of music and performance. What looks primitive hides an unexpected, ingenious model of self-governance. Our final year of the 60s, 1969, gives us in the runner-up slot Uncharted Stars by Andre Norton. This is a space adventure sci-fi novel. Gem dealer Murdoch Jern and his telepathic companion Eat go rogue to trace the origin of the universe-warping Zero Stone. Their hunt forces them through criminal guilds, forbidden worlds, and a map. They may point to a dead forerunner civilization. As rivals close in, Murdoch discovers the stone's terrifying purpose and the price of unlocking it. Best novel of 1969, and I'm shocked it got no award recognition. The Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. Techno-thriller, hard sci-fi novel. A satellite crash unleashes an alien microbe that wipes out a desert town. Scientists in a high security underground lab analyze the organism as it mutates. The book blends lab detail, bureaucratic tension, and mounting dread into a race against time. And that's the 1960s. 10 years, 20 novels. None of them honored by the Hugos, Nebulas, or any other literary awards of major significance, but all of them beloved by readers, supported by strong sales, and praised by critics. What do you think? Which of these would you like to read next? Did I miss a favorite sci-fi novel of yours from the 60s that also was snubbed by the committees? Do you have thoughts on particular books in this list that you did read and enjoyed or not? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for the next episode, where we'll move to the 1970s to keep uncovering the best award snubbed sci-fi year by year. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.